Welcome to Dot Life, Dorchester's only hyperlocal podcast for news, commentary, and analysis. We have a great program today about the Neponset Greenway Council. Really excited to chat with those folks and to give you a little more information about what's going on with that organization. But before we get to that, we always are joined by someone from the Dorchester Reporter. And Bill is back with us.
Yeah, you drew the short straw today. I'm back after a week of Seth Daniels entertaining
and I had
anyone.
Too much fun.
You did
last week.
I think you'd still be talking football if. We should just get this out of the way.
No, there isn't really much to talk about on sports front this week. So moving along swiftly to the news.
Did you notice my screensaver?
Oh, jeez. Any team they could have lost to, and it had to be the Patriots.
Yeah, I listen. You're 4-1, so you can't complain too hard here. But obviously, a big win for the Patriots, maybe season-changing win for the Patriots. I think the Bills are going to be just fine. But 23-20, and Drake May looked like, the wonder kid that we all thought he was going to be.
He was bailed out by Steph Diggs.
Yeah, Steph Diggs. I've been very impressed with him, and he's sending the right message ahead of the game this weekend against the Saints, too.
Honestly, I was thinking he was going to be talking a whole lot of crap, and he didn't.
No,
nice.
He actually said this Saints game, though, I don't know, this is maybe a dig by Diggs, is that he thinks that the game against the Saints is even a bigger challenge for the Patriots than the Bills. Because
he can get the hell out of here.
You got to listen to them.
I don't need to.
Okay.
I'm moving on. We're looking at the Falcons, which, by the way, is a Monday night game. And I'm going to be in London, so I have to find a pub that will play Monday Night Football overnight.
Won't be a problem.
No,
I'm sure you're going to find someplace. I've watched American football in London before. It can be done.
There's no commercials.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
That is amazing.
Also, I never sleep when I'm over there anyway, so why not go to the pub?
Well, have a great time. And what else are you going to be doing while you're in the UK?
So I want to preview next week's episode because while I am going for a work trip, I'm also going to take a couple of days and go to Dorchester, UK.
Nice.
I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up to go see what the town looked like before they started moving over here. I'm going to the History Museum. I'm talking with their historian.
That's some bucket list stuff right there.
It's really cool.
Especially Dorchester Reporter journalists and alum who've been trying to get me to pay the freight for a Dorchester Reporter exclusive tour of Dorchester, England for decades now. It hasn't happened. So you're like pioneering this.
I'm really excited. And the guy who lives over there, David Cuxon, who wrote a book about John White, the founder of this whole Dorchester project, never came here, but was like the benefactor. He is going to be my tour guide. And we're also talking about the 400th anniversary of Dorchester, which is in 2030.
Right.
So we're starting to lay the groundwork for some planning there.
Yeah, I know there's been some folks talking about that already for a few years now here in Dorchester, part of the Dorchester Day Parade Committee and celebrations folks. So that, I think, is going to be a fascinating episode of Dot Life.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool.
See how quickly I got you off the Bills?
I got it in at least. I had to say something.
I was going to be mad.
Yeah. The whole production team here would have been
rioted.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a few things to touch on today. Carney Hospital site, new stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about two different stories out of Savin Hill. And then some K-pop news, which isn't normally what we cover.
No, I'm not that familiar with K-pop. I know a little bit more about football, actually, than K-pop, so you'll be surprised. But the Carney Hospital story is our lead this week for a reason. It's obviously the Carney closed in August 2024. Big deal. We've talked about it multiple times. Yep. What's next at the Carney? And now we have an inkling of what might be next, which is a developer has been hired by the property owners to come up with a plan and execute it, presumably. And that person is Tom O'Brien, who's the CEO of HYM, one of the big development firms in the city. He formerly ran the BRA when it was known as the BRA back under the Tom Menino administration. Has gone on to a very successful career developing properties in and around Greater Boston. And presently is most recently took down the government center garage and is building new buildings there.
Oh, okay.
Also controls the Suffolk Downs site in East Boston, which is potentially going to be 70 plus buildings on that site.
Is that not a racetrack anymore?
No, it's a defunct racetrack. They actually have they had some concert there this summer in the old racetrack, so it's still there, but it no longer has racing going on.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
So that's going to be a whole new neighborhood over there in East Boston.
Is he
revere.
well regarded in like the developer world?
He is.
Okay.
I think I'd say he is a prominent, well-respected developer with a track record that's, that's out there and measurable. He was also respected as an urban planner under the Medina administration. Now, he hasn't had all success all the time, like every developer out there.
Yeah.
There's been challenges, but I think he brings to the table here, gravitas and a connection and network that's going to be very helpful for him to pull together, some sort of path forward. Now, what that'll be and what the consensus will be about the reuse of the site may be controversial, and I expect it will be in part.
Are there any hints as to what will be there now?
There are. And let's frame this just to say, obviously, the Carney Hospital buildings are still there. There are a few buildings on the site, including the main hospital, which is essentially shuttered and maybe boarded up soon because it's a risk for safety reasons.
Right. It's in a little removed area too, butting up to the park, so there's access from different spots. And
there is,
little
and the building in the back, which is a newer building, where the Seton Medical Building is also empty now.
Okay.
They closed that in May, so the campus is essentially a ghost town.
Yeah.
And there's some urgency around what are we going to do with these buildings? Can they be salvaged? Tom O'Brien's answer basically is it's not likely. These buildings will most likely come down to make room for the next iteration on this 12-acre campus. And, multiple people, including Mayor Wu and others, have said publicly they want a new healthcare service on this site.
Yep.
The task force that was created by Mayor Wu and Governor Healy issued a report last April that said as much as well, that primarily the ideal reuse will be a medical, healthcare service facility.
Because that's really the only healthcare in Dorchester at this point, or now it's not. It was the only, right?
It was the only hospital,
Yeah.
community hospital. We have health center. We have a network of 10
Sure.
health centers, et cetera, and some urgent care, obviously pharmacies here and there. But yeah, that was the community hospital in Dorchester. It's gone. We're not going to have another hospital. That's pretty clear. I think consensus is this will be something short of a full, full service hospital.
Okay.
It might be a multi-purpose sort of super health center sort of thing where you'd have urgent care and specialty units for things like dialysis or cancer treatments, and it could be a pretty large footprint building, but it most likely won't be a hospital like in the traditional sense,
like with inpatient beds and things, or will there be some of that?
It's not likely that there'd be inpatient beds, although there could be some specialty units.
Yeah.
So again,
this is a lot of what John Fitzgerald talked about on the podcast, actually, that we could use this space to specialize and bring people here seeking out that specialty service.
Correct. So that's kind of a blank slate right now. I mean, Tom O'Brien and his team it's in the early stages. They're describing it as the listening stages, where they're going just now to civic associations, e-boards, elected officials around Dorchester, Mattapan, soliciting input. And so it's clear that his goal is to have a healthcare component on the site, along with probably housing of a mix of kinds of housing. Could be specifically for seniors, could be assisted living, it could be a mix of market rate and those things. It's likely to be a blend, and it's likely to be a situation where there's multiple entities in control of that land or leasing
good, right?
it.
Like having mixed use facilities around makes it not just one type. It's like community.
I think there's still a growing consensus around that, and there's a debate. And so there's some folks who are, if you go on our Facebook page and see the reaction to this story, tons of people still want, reopen the hospital.
Yeah.
We need a community hospital. There's a strong sentiment and quite a bit of bitterness about how this went down last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm almost in a butter to Carney. It's on the other side of Dorchester Park. Not having that resource close to home for not only our families, but especially our seniors and our children, in emergency situations has been a huge disruption, and it's a big blow to our economy in Dorchester.
Do you have less sirens though?
I don't hear the sirens anymore. I think I've been in the city long enough that I that stuff doesn't. It's kind of white noise for me.
You need to get a cockatiel, because I have a cockatiel, and they add to the siren every time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
Oh, a bird?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look into that, Erin. Thank you for the advice.
If you want one, I
have
one.
I do hear the plane noise lately, because that's getting worse.
It's gotten worse, yeah.
And they fly right over
the
Carney. So back to the Carney for a second.
Yes.
I think we'll find out more in the next couple of months what like the fine print might be here on the plan.
Yeah.
Tom O'Brien and his team will tell you there isn't a plan yet. I think they have a rough idea of what could work there.
Okay.
And they want to go through the paces of listening to people, maybe, letting that inform their next step, and let the market help inform it.
Right.
They need to find an operator who's willing to come in and invest in a healthcare facility in this part of the city. And, by all accounts, that didn't happen last time. Part of it's because of the deferred maintenance problems at the Carney.
Yeah.
And other buildings were seen as more viable. But there were obviously choices made at high levels of government that they just weren't going to, use their cards that they could have used.
Right. Eminent
domain could have been used here.
Yeah.
It was used in Brighton. There was a decision made at the governor's level not to pursue that. Yeah. But that ship has sailed. I mean, we're in a different frame here. We're in a different mode where, we have to be realistic about the market forces. And the biggest element here is the government doesn't control this land. It's privately owned. It's owned by a company that owns, thousands of, properties all over the globe.
Yeah.
It's literally called Apollo Global Management. And so they're the landlords. They own the property. They will, ultimately have a big say in what happens. But they've hired Tom O'Brien to really guide that process.
Yeah.
And I think from a local perspective, that's a good outcome.
So do you think I should let go of my dream of it being a Wegmans?
I don't think you're going to see a Wegmans or a retail of that footprint there now. I think you're going to – there's other places in Dorchester that could use a Wegmans. Morrissey Boulevard, probably other parts that –
Gallivan maybe over on –
yeah, the old Walgreens, and it's not likely to go there for some certain reasons. But, it's not going to be a Wegmans, sorry.
I think that's good. We need more housing. We need some healthcare component. So, let's see what they come up with.
So watch for them to come. I know they're coming to the Lower Mill Civic Association on October 21st at 7 o'clock, St. Gregory's Gym. They'll no doubt be at the Columbia Savin Hill meeting in November.
I'm sure they'll come to Ashma Adams.
All kinds of places in between. There'll be dozens of appearances. And this is the chance for folks to show up at those meetings or to go online and, make your feelings known. But especially to go to the meetings if you can. Yeah. Cool.
Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled, and I'm sure you'll have the latest when you get it.
We'll keep you informed.
Let's switch to Savin Hill. Speaking of Columbia Savin Hill. You have a story in the reporter this week about new decor at Savin Bar Kitchen.
Right. Bit of a controversy at the moment for the restaurateurs at Savin Bar Kitchen, which many people would know recently had a major, kind of exposure nationally. Gordon Ramsay brought his reality TV show, I think it's called Secret Service, and it goes in. It's basically a restaurant makeover show. They went in earlier this year. Filmed an episode there that's already aired, and people can check it out. I don't know what network it's on, but you can find it on YouTube for sure.
Okay.
And they kind of rebranded the restaurant. Went in, Gordon Ramsay. It's kind of it's all a setup where he goes in at night and inspects the kitchen and actually finds that it's pristine and in great shape.
Oh, nice.
But finds that the restaurant needs a rebrand, new identity, and ultimately, shakes up kind of the management, says you got to treat your employees better, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But the leave behind included a decor makeover, and they used as really the hook this building, the site, the location's connection to Boston's mobster underworld.
Yeah.
And specifically James Whitey Bulger and his crew.
So was Savin Hill at large the connection, or this actual building had something?
This actual corner was
okay.
formerly home to a tavern called Bulldogs, which was owned by a gentleman named Eddie Connors, who unfortunately was murdered in 1975, allegedly by the Bulger crew. It's pretty well established that it was one of them, maybe Whitey Bulger himself, maybe one of his associates. And he was killed on Morrissey Boulevard in a phone booth in a very high-profile assassination back in really the heyday of the gangland killings in Boston. And it's true that Eddie Connors owned the building that was there once. It's long gone. It's been bulldozed. His condo's there. And Savin Bar and Kitchen and Ghost Pepper are the restaurants on the ground level. So, and they're both owned by the same men. Driscoll, DeConto, and Ken Oshiro own the building now.
Not mobsters, as far as we know.
Not as far as I know, and I'm sure they're not. But they've owned it since the last 15 years or so. But this rebrand involves invoking the images of James Whitey Bulger prominently inside the restaurant. In fact, right in the foyer when you walk in, there's a poster size. It's the mugshot from the 1950s when it was a youthful Whitey Bulger. When he was arrested for bank robbery in 1950s. Before he went to Alcatraz.
Is there more than just this photo?
There are other mugshots inside of people associated with the Winter Hill Gang, which Whitey's connection. That's the name of the gang he kind of came up in. And there was a guy named Stephen the Rifleman Flemmy, who was likely Whitey's associate in the killing of Eddie Connors. So it's kind of macabre, and like it's I get it. There is a true history behind that at that location.
It is a distinctive history for a business like that to have that kind of.
It is
bragging rights. Is that the right word?
I guess. I mean, for a lot of people in the neighborhood, though, and the reason this is in the paper this week is because Monday evening, Columbia Savin Hill Civic Association, this came up. And people raised it as, wait a minute, like, this is outrageous. People were offended by it, the people who brought it up. And there was a discussion at the meeting, and they decided to take a vote to pursue, at their next meeting, a petition to try to get the restaurateurs to change up and to take these images down. Even in the few hours since our story posted, there's been a couple of hundred comments on it, and there's a divide. There's people who say, "Well, wait a minute, that was 50 years ago.
It's part of our history.
It's part of the history of Boston, et cetera, and specific to that location." And then other people are like, "Well, wait a minute, these guys terrorized this neighborhood. Whitey and his crew, killed people from our neighborhood, buried some of them in graves in places like Tinian Beach and." Along the Greenway, unfortunately, that we'll talk about in this episode a little bit. But the bottom line is, like, there's a terrible history there in not only South Boston, where he's at most identifiable, but in Dorchester too. And some of his victims were Dorchester residents.
And people probably still here who are related to or knew them and connected to them and feel personally affronted by this.
That's undoubtedly true. And they're an older demographic now. But they have grandkids, and it's still pretty raw, actually. And you could see that in the comments. You could hear it at the meeting on Monday night. Seth Daniel was there for us and wrote about it. And we, in fairness, reached out to Driscoll and Ken, the owners, and they make a defense of it. They say, no, this is part of the history here. We're not, and they've put a disclaimer on one of the posters saying this is not meant to glorify Whitey or mobsters in general. It's just, this is kind of a unique connection. Obviously, at the root of this is this sort of commercial makeover that's intended to do exactly what we're doing now. Get people talking.
It's bringing people in, especially from outside of Boston now, who see the episode and are like, oh, I want to go check that out.
Probably. And, I will say, like, the episode of his show, and I'm sure it's kind of a contrived thing. These reality TV shows, they're all scripted nowadays. But the impression you got was it's a pretty quality restaurant, actually. And it was before Gordon Ramsay showed up. Like, the chef, the general manager, the people who are actually the grunt workers in the restaurant are, doing a good job, and they were. So it's kind of like, well, we did this whole like sort of image reveal, but the food itself is great. People in the neighborhood do enjoy patronizing this spot, and they have for years. It used to be Donovan's before it was Savin Bar and Kitchen, and it's a really important place to a lot of people. So there's a little bit of disappointment that this sort of rebrand is going to, some people won't go in there for this reason.
Yeah.
And that's fair play.
Right.
It's also fair play for the owners to say, well, this is our decision.
Right.
This is where we want to go with it. And I think they'll just have to, let's see what the market decides to do. And that might dictate things.
It's interesting. There's a bar in Manhattan that's or a restaurant that's called, I think, Little Rebel, that has all celebrity mugshots on the wall, and they're not labeled, so you're trying to figure out. They look terrible in most of them.
Yeah.
But like Lindsay Lohan didn't, murder anybody.
Yeah, Jim Morrison didn't, you know what I mean? He got arrested for like, I don't know, exposing himself or something at a concert. I mean, these are like serial killers in the Boston context. This is like, not only did they kill people with, murdering other, mob affiliated people, a lot of people died from, drugs that they were peddling. And so that's another piece of it that's real in our neighborhoods is like, that drug epidemic tore through a lot of families and still does.
Right.
And they're culprits in that, no question about it. So it's a little soul-searching moment. I mean, Gordon Ramsay, he doesn't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Like he came in and said, this is a great idea, let's do this. It's about the local ownership needs to take stock and say, okay, this is a great buzz thing to do, but is it really the right fit? I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
the Savin Hill episode that we did a couple of weeks ago with Bill Walczak, we mentioned, I think that was a 45-minute interview, and I think like 5 minutes of it was about the mob activity in Savin Hill, and that was the comment that we got on that episode was, why are we glorifying gangsters? Which, if you listen to the episode, we were not glorifying anyone, but that is a raw point in that neighborhood for sure.
And it is, look, we have it. There's a history that's real. And,
exactly.
Can we whitewash it, forget about it? I mean, I don't think anybody's making that argument. It's just like, it's a poster-sized mugshot of Whitey Bulger, like as soon as you walk in.
And you think about like John Lewis's mugshot. That was in the time, he was arrested, but it was like a glorification of him now because he was the good trouble theory, right? And even like Trump's mugshot has been used to amp people up.
Sure.
So
it can be iconic.
Yeah.
It's an iconic image.
Right.
But in the context of a murdering, sort of monster. And, the other analogy I've heard is Al Capone. And I've been to a restaurant in Boston called the Stockyard over in Brighton, and they have Al Capone's bar. Like his original bar from Chicago, apparently, and it's a big feature of that restaurant. So it's like, and Driscoll DeCanto mentioned in our interview that Seth did, there's other restaurants. Why are they picking on us? It's like it's still pretty raw. There are people walking around who had encountered this guy in real life. Right. And by the way, Steve Flemmi, whose portrait is also in there, his mugshot. He's still alive in prison, 91 years old. He
just died since I've lived in Boston.
Yeah, he died
5 years ago?
He was killed in prison. Yeah. But Flemmi's still alive in prison and is up for parole in 2 years, believe it or not. So, like, this is not that old history.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow. Anyway, let's move on to other Savin Hill.
This is another Savin Hill story. It's probably a little lighter. It's about redoing the parks there. Well, one of them's just recently been redone.
Okay. Which one is that?
McConnell Park was restored. Actually looks beautiful, I think. The playgrounds, the playing fields there in the last couple of years.
Of that in the paper.
And but there is a little bit of controversy because it's still an access way through there, like almost like a driveway that connects the yacht club, and there's some parking area there. And a child was hit by a vehicle over the summer in that stretch, and people are very concerned because it's right between the playground, the beach, and the playing fields, and there's tons of kids. Yeah. But there's motorists too, and it's confusing. It's confusing for motorists as well as pedestrians.
Okay.
So the parks commissioner, the interim parks commissioner, came by this meeting on Monday, Columbia Savin Hill.
That was a fiery civic meeting.
Yeah, I think the park stuff was the front end, and then later on we get into the Whitey stuff. Yeah. But the parks commissioner was really there to also talk about, in addition to trying to make some safety improvements there at McConnell. Yeah. They are going to do some renovations at the other Savin Hill Park, which is kind of the original Savin Hill, but with its tennis courts and a basketball court on the side of the hill there. So she was on hand, and you may prompt me on her name. She's the new interim commissioner of the Parks Department.
Bakery Clips?
Yes.
Yep.
And she was there to tell people, hey, this is coming in 2026. We expect to start, coming back to you with plans and to get this going. So
good.
On the good news side in Savin Hill, improvements to the parks and a commitment from the city to try to do a better job with the safety for the kids around the play area and the playgrounds that are there. And neighbors had a lot of advice for city officials, and they were there to hear it. So that's good.
That's good. There's a lot of park renovations. We talked in a couple episodes ago about Dorchester Park has been had a facelift.
Walsh Park,
Yep.
dedication of Walsh Park last week, and there's an article about that this week. $4 million into Walsh. Looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, this has been not only obviously under Michelle Wu, this has continued. It was under Marty Walsh.
Yeah.
The Walsh administration put a lot of effort into renovating parks and getting the ball rolling, and the current administration is following through on that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. All right, what's your K-pop story here? Because I don't usually read about K-pop in the Dorchester Reporter.
No, you don't? Yeah, you're not reading as carefully as you should be. K-pop is obviously for the uninitiated, including myself. It's a really popular, especially with the teenage, young adult set of Korean-based pop music.
BTS,
yes,
famously is probably the most
one of my
well-known.
faves right there. But what we found recently, and Seth Daniel once again, just getting all the scoops, has been, and mainly because of his daughter Taryn, who's a K-pop fan, plugged him in the fact that the Strand Theater is becoming a popular destination for Korean-based K-pop bands when they come and tour in the U.S. And
that does not compute.
I didn't think so either, but it's right here, and they're selling the place out, which is, for the Strand Theater is a great thing because that's few and far between, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, way back in the day, it's a 1,400 seats theater. They would pack the house long time ago in the 80s. I can recall a few shows, but it's gone through some tough stretches. Once in a while, there'll be a real popular event there, or the State of the City or something like that. But this is a youth concert, which is bringing in a lot of teenagers, young adults of all kinds of backgrounds. Even though this is associated with Korea, and there's certainly a big Asian fan base.
Yeah.
It's multicultural and a big and interested component here in Boston. So there's two shows coming up this month alone.
This show, Demon Hunters, I think is like crushing. I hear about it all over. I haven't seen it.
It's on at my house right now, probably. My daughter Madeline loves that show. I haven't tapped into it just yet, surprisingly. But this Hallyu Wave, as it's called, is, and the lead photo in this week's paper is also of a K-pop dance troupe that performed at Fields Corner. Town Field had the Mid-Autumn Festival this past weekend, and there's a dance crew. It's all different kinds of young kids, teens performing, all inspired by K-pop. So that's what's going on at the Strand these days, which
Very cool.
is good news.
Love to see that pack in the house.
Yep.
What's coming up in the next week?
Well, beside the special report from Dorchester, England, we're going to be looking at blue bikes and bike lanes and bike use in the city.
Okay.
There's an effort right now to get more blue bike stations in Dorchester, Mattapan, other parts of the city, and kind of
I've seen
continue
some
the expansion.
more over the last 5 or so years, but there's definitely space.
There's
for more
public
of them.
meetings happening right now. There's one in Mattapan this month, and a virtual meeting. They're looking for input up where they should go and how far into the neighborhoods they should go.
Maybe near the Neponset Greenway.
The Greenway, that's a good idea. Well, I know there's at least one that I've used on the Greenway, and definitely
I've seen photos of you on that.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And we'll be covering that. We'll also be continuing to cover city council races and more to come.
Election day hasn't come yet?
No, we have another one coming, Erin. Remember the one in November?
Oh, right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, the at-large race is very much still in the news, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that.
Okay.
And then awaiting your file right from Dorset, County Dorset, England.
We'll have to see. I'm going to try my best to connect with you guys while I'm out in terms of the news segment, but you may do it without me.
No pressure.
Week. Yeah.
We'll hold down the fort for you.
I'll be having my eye on the website either way.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great trip.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, Bill. Before you leave, we've got a sneak guest in here today.
Whoa. It's our host.
Oh,
Good to see you. Thank you for letting us be in your space.
Yeah.
well, snuck in the back door, so thanks for allowing me to do so.
Sure did. Didn't see you go by.
Bobby Boyd, friend of the pod,
Yes.
sponsor of the pod.
Thank
Great to
you.
have you back on. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
So what's new at the Record Co?
An amazing summer. Had an amazing year. We had our Sunday in August to cap off our year, which is an amazing community barbecue that we had here at 55 Morrissey. Had I think it was about 200 people
There's a lot of
came
people
out.
here,
Yeah.
Nice.
It's an indoor-outdoor event. We had a outdoor event with a lot of vendors, and we had Stokes Barbecue do all the food.
Nice.
And then we had an indoor jam session, which was really cool. So people got to see and learn a little bit more about the building, which was really cool.
You don't get some like impromptu live music very often, so it was nice.
Yeah, it was
Really
really
good.
cool. I appreciated you guys showing up.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great to be there. The weather was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful day.
That's always scary,
I
right?
know.
You have those outdoor events and you're like, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was great.
So we're moving into fundraising season,
hmm
and I hear you've got some things brewing.
Yeah, the Record Co., we've been around since 2010. So 15 years now we've been around.
Wow.
And it's still Boston's best kept secret in a lot of ways. So it takes a lot to run the organization. And at 960 Mass Ave, we, have 20 spaces, 4 recording studios, rehearsal spaces, videography spaces, photography spaces, podcasting spaces. So we have an amazing facility there, but we also have this facility that it takes a lot to maintain and operate. So
It's a big space.
yeah, so this
How
space.
many studios? 90?
So altogether, 108,
Wow.
Wow.
So many.
108 studios, and between 2 locations, you're serving close to 3,000 to 4,000 artists a month. So
Wow.
it's an amazing way that we give back to making sure that Boston's creative economy thrives, and make sure that artists don't have to go to Nashville, LA, New York, and other places. We're trying to make sure that artists can stay in Boston and thrive in Boston. So that's really important to the work that we're doing. But yes,
They can't be
Right.
cheap.
they can't be, but we're trying to keep it affordable.
Yeah.
We're trying to make sure that, the barrier of pricing doesn't get in the way of people's creative genius. And that's been a big part of our mission for a long time. So I think, like our space is at $960, $10 for a room for an hour, $15 for a room
That's
for an
crazy.
hour.
That's
And,
like low for small cities, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
No wonder you have so many artists.
Yeah.
3,000 a month. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And like it's also incredible that it's still that, like you said, kind of a hidden gem, hidden
Yeah.
secret.
Yeah.
I feel like this past year, you've had a little bit more amplification. The pod
Sure.
helped for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
but what's the trick, do you think, to kind of turning that corner, putting that a little bit higher volume?
I think it's on, our community, I think, this climate that we're in right now, it's begging for community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of division. It seems like the old playbook constantly gets thrown out again and again and again in these times. So I think our community's begging for, deeper connection, that connective tissue that keeps us all together. So I think when we do that, people will be more attracted to the mission because there's new musicians being created every day.
Right.
There's and music is therapy for a lot of people. When you listen to a great song or when you have the opportunity to play an instrument, that's therapeutic for a lot of people, and it can kind of release some of the stress that you might experience in your day-to-day. So I think the better job that we have to do is, one, get out in front of folks and let them know about this amazing community that we have, and tell our story a little bit better. And, this pod obviously allows us to do that. But, just trying to change that narrative. We've been such a speakeasy. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you don't kind of thing. So we're working. We got some new board members. We got some amazing people that just joined our team. So trying to work on that from a marketing perspective.
I'll tell you one community that is not unaware of this place, which is the musicians that we have in for the Tiny Dot concerts.
Cool.
Every time they're like, oh, I know that guy, and
Yeah.
then other musicians down the hall, and they often run into each other, and they're like, what's going on? So it is
Right.
definitely a nice community building for that
I
crowd.
was just talking to folks in the hall. Again, I think the more that we can learn about these amazing artists in the building, the better we can advocate for them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are doing amazing things, but we're all siloed even in this building. And I'm trying to get folks to understand that if we can talk about, the businesses that they have. I just was talking to a drummer at Mod in the hallway, and he's like, I'm teaching drum lessons. I'm like, well, how about if we work together and I can send some more business your way, because, we have this influx of folks that are interested in that. So I think the more that we can, inform our community that we want to build pathways and we want to build a deeper ecosystem, I think is really going to take this to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how can people help?
Always there's volunteering. There's, donating, which is always appreciated, but also spreading the word. You can go to our website at www.therecordco.org. And on our donation link, you can click on that link and you can support in any capacity that you can. Some folks donate, gear. We just got a baby grand piano down in the garage that was donated the other day, which is our friend Chris Duvall, which was really, really cool. But just spreading the word about what it would be like if Boston lost this creative soul. We don't want a bunch of labs and gray buildings around our city. We need creativity. We need artists in our city. So I think, just spreading the word or coming to a show. Some of these venues can't survive when people don't go to those venues. Yeah. So going to a show, showing up, showing support in any kind of way. But, for our organization, we survive on donations. So even if it's $1, if you throw $1 in the tent, it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Gear is probably secondary. I think you really need money,
Sure.
and I know you're trying to raise 1.5 million.
Yes, we are.
So that any little bit helps there.
Yeah, and I know Bill's going to give us $1 million, so
yeah.
So we just need 500,000.
A million words of advice, but hey, listen, you can count on us to help spread the word, help support, and donate too.
No, we greatly appreciate that, and just want to say thank you guys for doing this. It's been great since we started. How long has it been now?
Since April.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This is season 2, episode 6.
Yeah.
And I love the Tiny Dot concert, and it's really fueled by this building and your talent and the creatives who are based out of here. I'd say most of them, if not all, have a connection to the Record Co. And
definitely.
that says a lot.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for what you do, because I think this is, again, part of getting that word out. I greatly
Couldn't
appreciate
do it without the two of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Keep it up.